Welcome everybody to another edition of TEW 2020 here, and this is a start of a new series, as you probably figured out by the thumbnail. So let me just go over what the basic idea is. So for those who know the Cornellverse, then part of the Cornellverse lore is that starting in the late 90s, there was the so-called East Coast Wars between all sort of like the major indie companies of the time, and eventually Dave won out in part because they hired Nemesis, and along with Phil Firebert, the sort of stand for Paul Heyman. They eventually won over and became like the number 3 promotion before eventually, dying and all that fun stuff from ECW. Now the idea of the East Coast Wars is basically, Dave won over, and with the new like things TEW 2020 and other games have done in the series, you have sort of like the regional wars. So the idea I have is basically every month I will be taking over one of the companies in the East Coast Wars, booking for that company, then going to the other company and booking for that company, and so on and so forth. So basically, simulating the East Coast Wars while also allowing on the other months the idea to sort of book me in situations that will cause issues as far as various problems, that comes with the AI booking, whether it's people's contract running out and not getting re-signed, them trying to sign other people that I currently have on the roster of the month of the company I'm using, or if I still, because I'm going to be basically stealing people that'll work for each company's product, and sort of overness, sort of win over the East Coast Wars, hopefully without going totally bankrupt. And the idea is basically by the end of this series, one company is standing tall, whoever it may be, and then I continue that booking that company to see if we can sort of change history. But to do that, we need to go over each company. So we're going to start out with go over each. So this is basically an episode 0, again, as you probably saw, and we're going to go over each company sort of in detail, and then in the first month we'll start booking each company. We'll start with Dave just because honestly they're first in the alphabet, and then we'll go through Dave, Philly Power Pro Wrestling, Raw Pro Wrestling, and XFW at the end. So let's start out with Dave. So with each, I am starting out with the default booker. So in this case, it's our friend, it's our buddy, it is Nemesis. So yeah, we start out Nemesis. Again, remember, Nemesis is sort of... It's weird because he's not even like... It's like the one Cornellverse character that sort of is like... It's sort of a Shane Douglas character, and then he got trouble with the big company, then left. But more, it's really a combination of like... Dave... I mean, it's a combination of like, what if Paul Heyman was actually a good wrestler as well. But also like the head of the company. So basically what happens is, Nemesis... does a insane match where he gets fired, and then he leaves the company, shows up in Dave, and becomes the booker there, leading to their like sort of super big run. So again, I'm just going to go over, first we'll go over the actual company, then we'll go over the roster, then we'll move on to the next company. So again, Dave, size-wise, we are currently small. We have a 30 in the tri-state, 29 in New England. Money-wise, we have $250K. Creative number. Well, yeah, I'll come back. I'll come back to that in a second. Our product is any established tournament hardcore, which means events is 85% of matches, 15% angles. TV shows is 75-25. Hardcore style is general wear and tear. Fans will accept any match type. Matches less 10 minutes will not be able to achieve world-class scores. Fans will be put off by cheap endings. Lengthy matches will lose the audience. And so on and so forth. So after that, we start out, again, I'll go over roster team titles in a second. Our events TV, remember, we've got weekly TV, which is high. Well, we don't have weekly TV, but we have as a weekly event, which is event every Friday. Basically, that's sort of like, the sort of weekly show. And then we have, multiple big shows as we go on. Again, current merch is at Growing Business, so we'll probably change that over. Let's see here, anything important. Backstage is good, 91%. Broadcasting, no broadcasting deals. And I think that's it. So let's go over the actual roster. I'm just trying to make sure there's anything else that you guys actually need to see. Yeah, that's about it. And then, so, roster. We got 411, who is, 911, except he's 411. We got Big Pat Brandon, who, is fairly new at this point, and he's just sort of shown up. We've got Buddy Gaines, who is sort of a veteran wrestler. Well, yeah, he's not even veteran wrestler. He's basically the Todd Gordon, except that what if Gordon was a former wrestler? So sort of, yeah, it's a rock and rebel, I guess, maybe kind of, but yeah. But now he's just a retired road agent. We got Chris Caulfield, who's not like he's Tommy Dreamer who hasn't turned it into Tommy Dreamer yet. We got Elijah Black, who's a sort of veteran black wrestler. Inuit, who is pretentious artist. You sort of know what's going to happen in the mid-90s with this sort of wrestler. Eric Tyler, who's Eric Tyler, who's working the traditionalist gimmick. Fabulous Frank, who's now a road agent. Freddie Datsun, who sort of has the quasi Tommy Dreamer angle now, because Chris Caulfield isn't Tommy Dreamer yet, but he's fairly over. We got Henry Lee, who's just like a hardcore guy. We got JJ Coles, who has a biker gimmick, and he's just a jobber at this point. We have both Darkness brothers, Jay and Roll. We have JD Morgan, who's one of our bigger stars, especially in New England, and has a legitimate athlete gimmick, who's the chosen one with Phil Bybert. We have Jez MacArthur, who's one of our refs. We have Johnny Martin, who again is who's sort of has currently a tag team with the Rick Standers, as in with Dave since the beginning. Kurt Laramie, who's King of the Streets, future tag team partner of Big Smack Talk. Lucas Hale, who's just a guy. He's just a dude. Michael Bull, one of our refs. Michael Cook, who's a youngster wrestler, all just legitimate athlete. So there you go. Miss Bliss, who's currently what's we're looking for here? Yeah, currently managing Freddie Datsun, but who also can take some bumps. Mitch Anais, who's the announcer. Monty Walker, who's one of the who's basically sort of an RVD / Sabu type. Murderous Mikey, who's just a brawler. Nemesis, who I already went over. Officer Hardaway, who's basically just a cop gimmick. Phil Vibert, who we went over. He's basically Paul Heyman. Paul Darkness, who we went over. Rocky Hotbody and Rodney Hotbody, who's sort of former stripper gimmick. So yeah. Roy Stevens, who is basically a rookie. Wolverine, who's Wolverine. Tim Tantrum, who's a burly brawler. Yeah, who just loses his temper again. Tyrannus Pex. Yeah, it's this weird gimmick. We have Vengeance, who's the future Vengeance in Skull to Bones in SWF, but is currently still on the SWF roster, but who knows for how long. We have Vin Tanner, and we've got William Fletcher, who's another rookie. And again, if we look at company, relationships. So yeah, we're currently at war with Philly Pro. We have a neutral opinion with Rapid Pro, and we're at war with XFW. And then storylines right now is just Dave, the Blood and Gold between Johnny Martin, Vengeance, and of course Nemesis, who will basically debut at the first big show, and Everyman versus Tradition, which is Eric Tyler and Vin Tanner versus Freddie Datsun. Did I go over Vin Tanner? Oh yeah, man. Titles. Current Extreme Champion is Johnny Martin, and Dave Tag Team Champions are Elijah Black and Murderous Mikey. Stables. None so far. Let's see here. Teams is Black Murder, which is Elijah and Murderous. Animals, which is Wolverine and Brandon. Darkness Warriors are Darkness Warriors, and Hot Bodies is who we went over. Creative-wise, we got Nemesis, Tyler, Vengeance, Martin, and Lee as our top guys. Next big things is just Inuit. Hot Prospects is JJ Coles, Jay Darkness, Monty Walker, Rodney Hotbody, Murderous Mikey. And Talk the Talk is Nemesis, Tyler, the Vengeance, Vibert. Showstoppers is Nemesis, Tyler, Martin, Datsun, Vengeance. Ring Generals is Nemesis, Tyler, Morgan, Datsun, Martin. And Who's Hot is Martin, Wolverine, Tyler, Vengeance, and Lee. And Who's Not is nobody yet. So, that's the Dave roster. There he'll be, I'll be doing first. And then we'll be going month by month for them. So I'll be back in just a moment with the next company. So next up is Philly Pro Power Wrestling, they're a small company. They only have a 39 in the tri-state and 35 in the Mid-Atlantic. And they have 150,000 available. If we look over other things, let's see here. What other company info do you need to see? Events and TVs. They have Philly Pro Power Weekly as just a weekly event, so I'll probably have to add in the actual big event. Let's see here. Product is Modern Throwback. So, yeah. It's basically like, it's 95% matches, 5% angles for events, 60-40 for TV. Fans will be upset by dangerous, controversial, or bloody match types. Match less than 20 minutes will not be able to achieve world-class scores. Fans will expect important matches to be quite lengthy. Fans will be put off by overbooked matches and all the other stuff you'd expect from this type of thing. Let's see here. Is there anything else you need to see first? Finance. Yeah. Whoops. Yeah, merch is at number 4. And like I said, we have 150K. So let's go over the roster. We have Andrew Barber, who's basically a veteran wrestler. He's a veteran wrestler who retired, is now the owner of the company. We have Brent Hill, who's of course the future member of the Machines, one of the better wrestlers in versus the East Coast Wars, and a top heel at the moment. Brett Gavison is one of our refs. Chad Brent is another ref. Chester Steen is basically a brawler and a possible future star who's getting kind of over with a showstopper gimmick. Chris Walkwell is, of course, the future crippler and the future lobster warrior, who's currently just a young guy at this point. Colin Jamieson is a color commentator. And then Dan Billiot is a brawler he's a brawler. He's new. He brawls. Deadbolt is another brawler. Not sure how long he'll last because he's not that good in the ring yet, but he's menacing, so there you go. We got Dino Machino, who's, of course, his former Dean Daniels. He's a young, wrestler guy. Dookie Skinner is a West Virginia brawler, so yeah, now he's a Patriot gimmick, so there we go. Floyd Goldworthy is, of course, a future TCW long-term manager, but now it's just getting started. Gene Curtis, who is, also, if you look, he's currently an angry young man, and he's the future Enigma. Henry Bennett is, again, a Tennessee-style brawl worker. Herb Staley is a manager. Jake Harvey is, again, a young talent. Jesse Christian is a former football star who has an injury, so he's a little older, but he's getting more over. John Doe is just a guy, the future Gareth Wayne. Rusher Karloff is, of course, the Russian. Well, he's not really Russian, but he could be a Russian. And he's currently managed by Floyd Goldworthy, so he's one of our top heels. Leon Williams is a patriotic veteran, so there you go. And then we have Lionheart Lawson, who's an undercard guy. We have Man Mountain Cahill, who's, big rugged brawler. Is currently being feuding with Whistler, and yeah, there you go. Marcus McKing, who's our character, who's what's the gimmick I'm looking for? He's, a former wrestler, lost in the shuffle, now he's the booker here. Matt Skinner is a tag team with his future. He's currently, old school guy, older. There you go. Mean G. Catley is, of course, a young guy, future Maw mainstay, but just getting started in his career now. Roman Piez is a high flyer, also has a contract with HGC. Rick Sanders was partly part of the Ace Express with Johnny Martin. Now they're on different sides of the East Coast Wars. Sandy Townsley is a young Canadian worker. He's just a guy. Stuart Ferdinand is a skilled worker. He'll soon be over. He's currently in Burning Hammer, so he'll probably be getting way over and too expensive for us soon. The Punisher is, of course, the Punisher. Whistler is Whistler. He's Jim Duggan. He's just Jim Duggan. And then William Franklin is a decent brawler on the undercard. And one thing I wanted to check out is basically I've given slightly different user stats to each booker. So Nemesis, that's user talent. So basically, McKing is sort of, I'm using him as like a veteran who got lost in shuffle. So, he's decently creative. He has decent leadership and is a good silver tongue, but like not that talented anywhere else. And I'll go back and look at Nemesis user talents at the end here. But yeah, so, and then if we look at titles, the Tri-State champion is currently Whistler, and then the tag champs are Duke Skinner and Mike Skinner. Our teams are Catley and Harvey, the Man Crushers of Cahill and Karloff, Dallas Wrecking Crew of Rick Sanders and the Punisher, Philly Patriots of Whistler and Lane Williams, and the Skinners of Dookie and Matt Skinner. And stables, no stables yet. So yeah, that's it. Backstage area is 87%, so not terrible. And so yeah, and then like our events, we got weekly events. So I might actually turn that. Yeah, I might actually just book that. Sort of as a weekly show. But yeah, so that's it. And I'll be back in just a moment with the next company on the list, Rapid Pro Wrestling. So next up, we got Rapid Pro Wrestling. So size-wise, they have a 32 in the Tri-State, 37 in the Mid-Atlantic. And product-wise, they're basically it's cutting-edge lucha. Basically, this is what's wrong? This is like high-flying match style. So we got 80% matches, 20% angles, 70% matches, 30% angles for TV shows. Less wear and tear. Fans will be upset by dangerous, controversial blade match types. Match less than 15 minutes will not be able to achieve world-class scores. And only basic match setups and high-flying aids are acceptable. Others will be penalized, and risky angles will be, will not go down well. So, throw your sort of default roster. Finance-wise, we've got 500,000 available, so we actually have the most money, which is good. Let's see here. Merch-wise, we're at level 4, just like every other company. Events on TV, we've got Rapid Television, which is TV every Tuesday. And then we got all these events, which I don't think are actual events, but I might use them anyway, or I might do my own events. Let's see here. So yeah, I'll go. Oh, and for user talents, Samoan Warrior, who's actually the booker here, who's a former, your Alpha Seeker type. So here I'm basically his bio says he's basically he's a monster in the ring. He's well of backstage. So I gave him basically good leadership and political skills, decent creativity skills, not so good at motivating and negotiating, and not good at talking to people and doing things anyways because he's just sort of a cuddly guy. But looking at our roster, we've got Alex Braun, who of course is a future Dave guy, and he's 35. We have Black Eagle, who of course is a future HEC TCW guy and also future Japanese guys, but currently just a young high flyer. Blue Sky, who's just a guy, he flies around. Brains McGee is a midget manager. What can you do? It's wrestling. It's pro wrestling. Brent Hill, of course, also works for this company because remember Philly Pro is not actually part of the East Coast Tours as far as stealing people, at least not yet. Canadian Dragon is the Canadian Dragon. He's a lucha guy. Cousin Ezra is a big brawler from West Virginia. Daniel Cano is Silver Warrior. He's a mask guy. And yeah, there you go. Donnie J is, of course, a future member of the Platinum Blondes, future SFWF guy, future Coastal Gone guy, future, that type of guy, but just a young wrestler now. Greg Kumis is a ref. Dylan Seidel is, top, sort of upper mid-card, old-school heel guy. Harvey Manners is a play-by-play guy. Inky the Squid Boy is, look at him, he's Inky the Squid Boy. Jez is also a ref. Jungle Jack is, of course, Jack Marlowe, future Japan guy, and I think he had a run in SWF, but I forget off the top of my head. Lance Henderson is a, basically, he plays a control-free character who will go out of his way to spoil things and lay down the law. Submission-style wrestler, and Nakazuna Regino is a Japanese veteran, and he's basically a good comedy wrestler. Officer Easyway is, of course, former Officer Hardaway. Panda Mask is Panda Mask. Perigino Soto is another lucha guy who's, he's another lucha guy and a decent brawler. Pete the Hillbilly is Pete the Hillbilly. Phantom Freak is and Phantom Zero, our tag team called the Ghouls. Preston Holt is, of course, our owner. Former old wrestler, of course, during the territory days. And Sammy Back is Sammy Back. Future DCW guy, big star, but again, right now just a rookie. Silver Shark is Silver Shark. Snapdragon is Snapdragon. 2 high flyer guys. Stetson Hat is a manager. Jewish cowboy. There we go. Steve Flash is, of course, Steve Flash, who's still uncharismatic as hell. My next event, Mark, is a poor worker, and yeah. So Warriors, of course, Booker. Tom Gilmore is, of course, the future Angry Gilmore, but again, he's again a rookie here as well. So I'm sure the Gilmore Jungle Jack and Gilmore Bach matches I will eventually book will, of course, be good tape trading matches in about 10 or 15 years or found on YouTube or whatever. UK Dragon is, of course, the UK Dragon, and Whoopi the Clown is Whoopi the Clown. Lots of mask guys, lots of lucha guys, lots of wrestling. There you go. Titles, RPW Double Act title is Lynx Henderson, Cousin Ezra, like I mentioned in the bio. RPW World Champion is Steve Flash. Storylines is there are none, so we need to create some, which is sort of obvious. Stables is just the Hat Gang, which is Stetson Hat, Inky the Squid Boy, Panda Mask, and Silver Shark. Because that is sure wrestling. Teams is brings over Braun, which is, of course, Cousin Ezra and Lynx Henderson. Double Dragon is both of the dragons. Should be sort of the cross-Atlantic dragons. I don't know. The Ghost, which we went over. And, of course, Underwater Enforcers is Silver Shark and Inky the Squid Boy. So, yeah. Again, they're sort of the, I don't want to say interesting company, but they're the more, because Philly Pro is, just your typical old school indie promotion who's now sort of trying to stay out of this war, even more than NYCW. Dave is Dave. RPW is sort of it's not like ROH or anything, but it is sort of more wrestling based and but also a little more old school. So that'll be interesting to see how I can book them and actually book them well. And I'll be back with, of course, our last company here. So, of course, our last company is Extreme Federation of Wrestling, which is sort of even the more hardcore company. As we look at our product, it is, extreme hardcore. So events will be 85% matches, 15% angles. TV shows will be 75% matches, 25% angles. Lots of wear and tear. Fans will accept any match type. Matches less than 50 minutes will not achieve world-class scores. But lengthy matches will tend to lose the audience. No cheap endings. And, yeah, ultra-dangerous match setups will be penalized. And, yeah, there you go. We have 350,000 available, which is actually more seats. It's interesting they actually have a decent amount of money. Let's see here, size-wise, they have 45 in the tri-state, 18 in the mid-Atlantic. So yeah, it's interesting they sort of start better off than Dave. Let's see here, backstage, they're at 76. Merch-wise, they're at a 5. Events and TV-wise, they have King of the Death Match Room in August, and an event underground every Saturday, so there you go. And so yeah, that's it for that stuff. So let's go to the roster. So our roster, okay, so we are with Arthur Salvadori Simpson, who's a careers branded as one of difficult in pro wrestling to work with. Yeah. So he's a decent brawler. Benjamin Moore is a youngster with little way talent, but huge part of the business. So yeah, he'll bump a lot. Big Dunk Kendall is the owner. Big Smack Scott is, of course, Big Smack Scott is, yeah. He's, of course, the future Big Smack Scott in SWF, and, of course, a huge egomaniac. Blackjack Robbins is a big brawler from Texas, or Georgia, rather. Boss Hoss is a tough babyface, and, yeah, he's a road agent. Bud Miller is alcohol fueled Bud Miller, so he's basically a jokey Sandman type character. Colossus is the Colossus, who of course has a future bigger career doing other stuff. Chris Warwick is a brawler from Baltimore. Yeah. Doug Peak and Eddie Peak are, of course, Doug Peak and Eddie Peak. Eddie Peak, of course, has a big career later on, but is currently now sort of a rookie. Dream Girl is a stripper who's with Big Smack Scott. Okay. Elton Rando is a wild brawler who's very inconsistent, so there we go. Frankie Future is a big brawler who's Frankie Future. Who's just staying with who didn't sign a contract with HSWC. Genghis Ron is, of course, a future TCW guy who's a younger guy now, but is from Arizona and a brawler and also has a Japan shot. Grandmaster Funk is, of course, the future Danny Bling in SWF, but who's currently a young guy. Grunt and Stink, of course, is the quasi-Nasty Boys type of gimmick, who's on the indies here. Hardcore Killer is just a brawler. I Butcher is a violent brawler who has a cult following. And, yeah, promos, yeah, wacky. Jerome Turner is an announcer. Jimmy Cox is a promising young talent who's actually, like, probably going to be in Japan eventually, but currently, you know, in the mid-card here in XFW. Johnny Highspot is, of course, High Flyer, so there you go. Madman Boone is just a brawler, future TCW guy. Melissa Mellons is Frankie Funer's manager. And, yeah, is also, oh, yeah, a porn star. There we go. But she's a low-level ballot, so there you go. Nicole Kiss is with Grandmaster Funk and is a manager. Omar Flattery is basically now he's a road agent. Rampage is a hardcore brawler who's really old at this point. So there you go. Randall Vandal is our ref and the booker, and I'll go over his talents in a minute. Ryan Holland is also a ref. Shane Sneer is Shane Sneer, former with Southern Class, and now he's, he's basically working the heel anti-hardcore gimmick. Shane Stone is a ref. Sean Gonzalez is, of course, part of the Gonzalez family. Future Puerto Rican guy, future Dave guy, but now currently in XFW. Smokey Joe is a heavyweight brawler with average skills. And Danger Kid is a high flyer. The Guru is a manager. Or no, yeah, he's not a manager. He manages Smokey Joe, right? Yeah. And then Insane Heat, of course, is a future CGC guy. And, yeah, is actually a really talented guy as you look at his stats. And then the Shadow is a random wild brawler. So again, as a quick look, if we look at Randall Vandal's talents, he's basically, because they have lots of money, I'm going to give him negotiating, motivating. Can't really talk people into anything. He's decently creative, and leadership diplomacy is, average. Titles-wise, we've got King of the Deathmatch, which was done for the first time last year. The Genghis Ron one. Luke Builder's titles are the Peaks. At World title is Insane Heat. We got team-wise, we got the Big Smack Vandals. Okay, oh, right, it's Big Smack Pot and a ref. Okay, that's silly. Colossus and Funk as a team. Insane Rampages, which is Rampage and Insane Heat. Nation of Filth, who is, of course, Grunt and Stink, are Nasty Boys analogs. Peak Brothers, who are the Peak Brothers, and the Wild Men of Madman Boone and Genghis Ron, who will, of course, have a long run as a tag team. Let's see here. Is there anything else storyline-wise? No storylines yet, which I'll need to create. No stables as of yet. Creative-wise, at Rampage, Frankie, who's, of course, our old veteran brawler, Frankie Future, Elgin Rando, and Insane Heat. That's actually an interesting creative meeting. Let's see here. Is there anything else to really show you guys for this? I'm just blanking on, is there anything else to show? Product. Oh, yeah. Relationships. Dave, Brawl, NYC, MOSCW. So, yeah. You can talent trade with either 4C, MOSC, or BBW even. So that'll be interesting, of course, for like King of the Deathmatch tournaments and other fun stuff to see if we can get them rolling. We'll also see, how they're doing a couple ones because it'll be the last company I actually do. So actually, to get back to that, let me go back to Dave here. So again, just to go over Nemesis talents. He's, of course, insanely creative, good at motivating, not good at negotiating, good at leadership, bad at just diplomacy, but has a decent silver tongue. And again, remember, Dave only has 250,000 available. So yeah. And sort of the rule I'm giving myself is just sort of like so it doesn't get too wacky or I don't like kill the other companies in only a couple months. I'm limiting basically 2 steals per month per company. So Dave can steal 2 people right from the start, and then the next month PPW can, sign 2 people if they want. RPW can do the same thing after that. XFW can do the same thing after that. The only difference is if the other rule I'm giving myself is if, of course, I get somebody stolen, I'm allowed to steal somebody, sign somebody additional. So yeah, it's 2 signings or, steals per month, but I get an additional one if obviously, I lose a, roster member during that thing. Other thing is basically, I'm not allowed to like basically like force the other companies to raise their production and sort of like kill themselves as far as money goes. Of course, obviously, no going into the editor to edit any monies, and I'll obviously have owner goals for each company, which will be randomly new every time because I'm not going to be booking every show for every company every month. So what I'll do is basically, I did this at the beginning to show you guys, but I'll be basically for other companies leaving the game, and then re-adding them as the booker as we go along. But yeah, I mean, this is something I had an idea originally for as a diary on the GTS forums, but I actually figured out it'd be easier to do this via YouTube. But yeah, each month we'll be going over all the shows, seeing what the other companies do, and just seeing who wins the East Coast War. So if you enjoyed this, go ahead and give it a like, comment below on if you're looking forward to this, and subscribe to the channel for lots of TEW content like this. But that's it for now. Next actual video will be the first month with Dave. But I'll see you then, and have a good one, and adios.